Good evening, you guys. So, I have a bunch of stuff going on. So, I have been doing jellies and jams to sell for Lexi's mouth fixing, and now I have branched out to pickling stuff. And actually, right now, I am making a bone broth from some turkey bones I have. And actually, I picked up some beef bones, and I will be doing that tomorrow. So I'm tossing everything that I want to put in there. Celery, carrots, onions, nothing too big, of course the bones, but I found that it was very key that you put salt. I quite literally forgot all salt, so I had let this go on low for 48 hours, and actually I had Joni over, and I was like, all right, let's try this. And so I had these tiny little 2-ounce cups, and we all took it, and I was like, I don't understand why people eat this. Like, why do they say this is so awesome? I was like, this doesn't taste very good. And so Joni's like, it doesn't taste like really any. Where's the salt? And I was like, oh, I forgot the salt. So Mom hands us the salt shaker, and we put a little in, and I was like, oh, okay, now I understand why people like it. So at the same time, I am going to start dinner. We're just going to have some potatoes and just like a stew. I have tri-tip that I'm going to take out, a tri-tip roast, and toss it in here and cook it up while I'm at it. And so I am like winning at adulting this day, and I ended up getting quite a bit done, which, still kind of bites me in the butt. adding all of the seasonings that I want to put in it, and I realized that it is not going to close, so I am going to set the lid on it, but, which I forgot later I had put this lid on it, I am going to put foil over it. This is a trick I learned from She's in Her Apron, and it actually worked really good. I was really worried the entire day that this was not going to turn out, and actually it turned out really good. So even though I made all of those jams and stuff, there was one that I was really interested in doing, and it's not uber expensive to make it in my book. Anyway, so I am filling up my pot. I have only used this pot to do canning and stuff, and so I am filling it up, and then I'll get the jars in there and get them going so they're sanitized. And so I have made all of those jams and jellies, including a orange marmalade, which I was not 100% on, and I will tell you, it sounds really bad, but I've always said I hate orange marmalade. Well, I don't know what it is. I liked mine, even the one that had jalapeno in it. And so I ended up making a grapefruit one. And so this is the process of me making my grapefruit one. And this is basically the process I use for any jelly I make. I have one stock recipe, and I just adjust everything to match those measurements. So I'm going to start off by peeling the outside of the grapefruit for the oils. I am trying not to get much of the pith, and I am not quite sure why I was putting these in the pot. I should have just started out by putting it in the pitcher. But I have to say that grapefruit was fairly easy. I did, in my head at first, I was like, you know what? I'm going to act like I did with the oranges. You just put, well, okay, you almost put a whole orange in there, peel, rind, everything, which is the same thing. I don't know why I doubled that word. I just wanted to sound smart. Anyway, and it actually cooks down. And so when I went to taste mine, I was like, oh, it's going to be awful. You know, the pith has that really awful taste. the outside of the orange doesn't taste that appealing either. And so, um, but with this one, I was like, there's just no way. There's such a thick layer on it that I ended up peeling or taking that outside peel. I pull off as much pith as I can, and then I just put the rest into the pot. And so that's part of the process. I'd have to say it's the longest part of the process of making this marmalade. like I said, this did not work out the way I wanted it to. I ended up moving everything to the pitcher. I really should have done this in my blender because the emulsion stick blender was having a hard time with the big chunks, but if I ever was to make it again, I have kind of a heads up on what to do and what works better. So I am, as you can see, just blending it up. It's not doing too bad. I really wish I had taken the time to maybe make strings of the rind. It would have been better, but hindsight is 50-50, 20-20. I'm going to make up words here and sayings, but if you've been around for a while, you already know that. Anyway, so it just would have turned out better. It still turned out good. That's all that matters. It tastes like eating a grapefruit with a little bit of sugar on it. You get that nice tartness. The sugar did not overtake and protect it from being tart. Okay, so everything's going, the lid is on the pot because it'll help keep my jars warm because it's never warm in this house until summertime and then it's just blazing hot. But I've got the grapefruit mixture in the copper chef and we are just waiting for it to get to a boil. I'm going to knock out the sugar so it is ready, and all I have to do is dump, 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 and not worry about it too much. So I have to say that I am doing much better with remembering pectin before sugar, with actually the orange marmalade and this one. It doesn't have a lot of juice, and so when you add the sugar, it is really hard to whisk it in, but I do find that the whisk works so much better for me at least. It gets all of the little chunks of sugar that likes to kind of run and hide. It made a very beautiful marmalade. I liked the color, and I don't know what else to say. Like, I was highly impressed with it. I it was definitely interesting. So the process has worked really well. There were a couple jams that I did not realize and have some forethought into what was going on. So, like, my apple pie jam ended up being a glaze for like ice cream or pound cake, which actually I know someone who put it on a peanut butter and jelly sandwich and she said it was amazing. But I didn't take into account the juice from the apples, and so that one didn't set up correctly. But I had a problem with my pepper jelly too. Though it had a really good flavor, it was very liquidy because the jalapenos just gave off so much liquid. So, as you can see, I am getting everything jarred up. I had everything at my fingertips, so you know how you just get into the groove of things, and it was like bam, bam, bam. I got them all knocked out. There were quite a few of these jams and jellies that I was like, oh, the last one made, 4 of these jars. I had one that made 8. I was like, never mind. I was teasing Anthony, well, we won't need jelly or jam for a while. I was like, the only one I need to make is strawberry and grape because that is something that we don't have but 4 or 5 jars. So as you can see, I had actually double the recipe, and I did try this once. I did try doubling a recipe. Turns out that is not something you should do because I once again made a glaze. So while I'm waiting for this to get up to a boil before I put in the pectin, I am going to knock out some dishes. If not, we are going to have a crazy amount. And though Mom does the dishes around the house, and I am very thankful for that, she shouldn't have to be picking up that much after me because I wanted to make the jelly. And actually, Mom, Anthony, and Lex are gone. I ended up making 2 batches of grapefruit marmalade, cleaning up the kitchen, putting up the dishes, and they, except for they knew that I had made this, you would have had no clue if you had walked into my house that I had just made jelly, jam, or a marmalade. I felt very proud of myself that day. I definitely was hurting that night, but it was well worth it. So, like I said, I was not sure this was going to turn out, but as you can see, everything cooked up beautifully. And actually, I've already taken out the meat, but I'm going to take out all of the vegetables. I'm going to actually take the liquid from the roast and I am going to thicken it up and make a gravy and just pour it all over the meat, the potatoes, the carrots, and then I made bread for dinner. I don't know why I can't talk tonight. It was a molasses honey. No, it wasn't. It was a molasses oat bread, and it definitely could have used more molasses, but it was a really good bread. I ended up making 2 large loaves, and we had it for the next 2 nights. here is what the loaves looked like. I'm going to slice them up. We're going to go have dinner. Thank you guys again for joining us with this journey and the crazy pickling Amy right now. And so I'll see you guys tomorrow for who knows what I'm going to try to pickle. Love you.